The doctor looked at my daughter, not at me, and that's when I knew something was wrong. I have lived 72 years on this earth, long enough to recognize the language people speak without words. A shifting glance, a forced smile, the way silence grows heavy in a room meant for answers. That morning, the hospital smelled sharper than usual, or maybe it was just my nerves. I sat on the examination chair, my hands folded tightly in my lap, the thin paper beneath me crinkling every time I moved. My daughter, Aisha, stood beside me, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder, but it wasn't comforting. It felt placed, like something rehearsed. Everything looks fine, the doctor said, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at her, and she nodded. That nod, it didn't belong to relief. It belonged to agreement. That's when the unease first crept in. On the way home, Aisha kept talking. Too much talking. About the weather, about her neighbor's new car, about a recipe she wanted to try. It was strange because my daughter had never been one for unnecessary chatter. I watched her from the passenger seat. Her fingers tightened around the steering wheel whenever there was a pause. Did the doctor say anything else? I asked softly. She didn't look at me. No, Ma, just regular weakness. You need rest. Weakness. Such a simple word, but it didn't match the doctor's eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan hummed above me, steady and indifferent. I turned from one side to the other, replaying every second of that visit in my mind. The doctor's hesitation, the glance, the way he cleared his throat before speaking. I have raised 3 children. I know when someone is hiding something, and my daughter, my own daughter, was hiding something from me. But why? The next few days felt different. Aisha wouldn't let me do anything, not even the smallest things I had done all my life. Ma, don't go to the kitchen. Ma, sit down. Ma, I'll do it. At first, I thought, maybe she's just being caring. After all, children do that when they grow older. They start worrying about their parents the way we once worried about them. But this wasn't care. This was control. One afternoon, I tried to water the plants on the balcony. It had always been my favorite ritual, the gentle pouring of water, the way the leaves seemed to breathe again. Before I could even lift the watering can, Aisha rushed in. Ma, what are you doing? Her voice was sharp, too sharp. I froze. I was just watering the plants. I told you not to do anything. Why don't you listen? Why don't you listen? Those words stayed with me long after she walked away. When had I become someone who needed to be controlled? That evening, I sat alone in my room, holding an old photograph. Aisha was 5 years old in it, her hair tied into 2 uneven ponytails, her smile wide and careless. I remembered that day. She had fallen while running and scraped her knee. She cried so much, and I had held her, kissed her forehead, and told her everything would be okay. Trust me, I had said, and she did. She always did. So why couldn't she trust me now? A week passed, then another, and the feeling inside me only grew heavier. There were small things, things that might seem meaningless to others, but not to a mother. She started taking phone calls in another room. She lowered her voice when speaking to the doctor. She avoided my eyes when I asked questions. One night, I pretended to sleep. I heard her footsteps outside my door. Slow, hesitant, then a whisper. "Yes, doctor, I understand, but how long do we have?" My heart stopped. How long do we have? I wanted to get up, to open the door, to demand answers, but I couldn't move. For the first time in my life, I was afraid of the truth. The next morning, I watched her carefully. Her eyes were swollen. She had been crying. "Aisha," I said gently, "is everything all right?" She smiled, that same rehearsed smile. "Yes, Ma, everything is fine. Everything is fine." I almost laughed, because nothing felt fine anymore. That afternoon, when she left to buy groceries, I did something I never thought I would do. I went into her room. My hands trembled as I opened her cupboard. I felt like a thief in my own daughter's house. But something inside me, something stronger than guilt, pushed me forward. I searched through her drawers, clothes, old bills, random papers. Then I found it, a file. My name was written on it. My fingers froze. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. This was it, the truth, the thing she had been hiding from me. I sat down on her bed, the file resting heavily in my lap. It felt heavier than paper, heavier than anything I had ever held. My hands shook as I opened it. "I didn't want to hurt you." I let out a bitter laugh. "And you think this doesn't hurt?" That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again. But this time, the silence was different. It wasn't just filled with questions. It was filled with truth. A truth I wasn't ready to face. A truth my daughter tried to protect me from. Or maybe a truth she was afraid to face herself. I closed my eyes, but sleep didn't come. Only one question echoed in my mind. How long do I have? How long do I have? That question did not leave me. It followed me into the morning, into every breath, into every quiet moment when the world slowed down just enough for my thoughts to catch up with me. I had read the word clearly in that file. I may not understand every medical term, but I am not uneducated. Life teaches you enough to recognize danger when you see it written in ink. And that word, it did not belong to weakness. The house felt different the next day, not because anything had changed, but because now I knew the walls that once felt warm now seemed to be hiding something. Every corner whispered secrets. Every glance from Aisha felt heavier, loaded with guilt. She moved around me carefully, as if I were made of glass. "Ma, I made your breakfast," she said softly. I looked at the plate. My favorite upma. She remembered. She always remembered. And yet, she had forgotten something far more important. To tell me the truth. I took a small bite, but my appetite had disappeared somewhere between yesterday and today. "Aisha," I said quietly, "sit with me." She hesitated, just for a second. Then she sat down across from me, her hands tightly clasped together in her lap. I studied her face. This was the same face I had watched grow from a child into a woman. The same eyes that once looked at me with complete trust. Now, those eyes avoided mine. "Tell me," I said. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. "I want to hear it from you," I continued. "Not from a file, not from whispers, from you." Tears gathered in her eyes instantly. I didn't know how, Ma. How? I repeated softly. Or when. She broke then. I was scared, she cried. I didn't want to see that fear in your eyes. I didn't want you to feel this. She gestured helplessly between us. This what? I asked. This ending. Ending. Such a small word for something so enormous. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not pain, not yet, but something deeper. Understanding. So that's what she was afraid of. Not just my illness, but the idea of losing me. Come here, I said gently. She shook her head. I lied to you, Ma, she whispered. Every day. I kept smiling, pretending everything was normal, while inside, I was counting time. Counting time. My time. I stood up slowly and walked over to her. My knees felt weaker than usual, but I wasn't sure if it was my body or the weight of everything I now knew. I placed my hand on her head, the same way I used to when she was little. You think I don't understand fear? I said softly, I am your mother. She looked up at me, her face wet with tears. I've lived my whole life preparing for this day. I continued, not the illness, but the truth that one day I will not be here. Her expression crumpled. Don't say that. Why not? I asked calmly. It doesn't make it less real if we don't say it. She buried her face in my hands. I couldn't lose you, she whispered. I smiled sadly. You won't, I said, not in the way you think. But even as I said those words, a storm was rising inside me, because understanding her fear did not erase my own. When she left the room, I sat alone again, and for the first time, I allowed myself to truly think about it. The illness, the word in that file, the quiet urgency in the doctor's voice. How long do I have? Days, months, years. No one had told me. No one had given me the dignity of knowing my own time. That afternoon, I made a decision. I would go back to the hospital, alone. I didn't tell Aisha. I waited until she was busy on a call, then quietly took my shawl and stepped out of the house. The sunlight felt warmer than usual, or maybe I was just noticing it more. Every small thing suddenly felt important. The sound of children playing in the distance, the smell of food from a nearby house, the breeze brushing against my face. Had I been ignoring all this before? Or had I simply believed I had more time? The hospital was just as cold as I remembered. The same white walls, the same sharp smell. But this time, I walked in with purpose. At the reception, I gave my name. The nurse looked at me, then at her computer. Oh, you're Aisha's mother, she said. I nodded. I need to speak to the doctor, I said firmly. When I entered his office, he looked surprised. Mrs. Khan, he said, standing up. You came alone? Yes, I replied, because this time, I want you to look at me when you speak. He froze. The silence stretched between us. Then slowly he nodded. Please sit. I sat down. My heart steady, but heavy. I know, I said simply. He didn't pretend to misunderstand. But no, it was not the end. Not yet. There was time. Time for treatment. Time for living. Time that my daughter had already begun mourning. I walked out of that hospital with something I hadn't felt in days. Not fear, not anger, but clarity. When I reached home, Aisha was waiting at the door. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with worry. "Ma, where did you go?" I was so scared. "I went to the hospital," I said calmly. She stopped. "You what?" I spoke to the doctor. Her breath caught. "And now," I continued, stepping closer to her, "we are going to talk, not as a mother and a child, but as two people facing the same truth." She looked at me, terrified, but this time I wasn't, because now I knew something she didn't. This wasn't the end. It was something else, something we had to face together. I took her hand, and for the first time since all this began, I felt strength return. "Sit down," I said. "It's time you stop protecting me and start standing with me." "Sit down," I said. "It's time you stop protecting me and start standing with me." Aisha looked at me as if she were seeing me for the first time, not as someone fragile, not as someone fading, but as someone steady. Slowly, she sat down. Her hands trembled in her lap, but she didn't look away this time. That was the first change. I spoke to the doctor. I began gently. He told me everything. Her eyes filled instantly. "I'm sorry, Ma," she whispered. I thought I was doing the right thing." "I know," I said, "and maybe in your heart you were." She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "No, I was being selfish." That word surprised me. Selfish. I had expected excuses, fear, justification, but not honesty like this. "I didn't want to lose you," she continued, her voice breaking. "So I tried to hold on to a version of you that didn't know, that wasn't scared." I sighed softly, and in doing that, I said, "You left me alone in my own life." She froze. My words were not harsh, but they were true. "I'm your mother," I continued. "Do you know what that means?" She nodded weakly. "It means I have carried fear longer than you have even known it existed." I said, "I have faced nights you will never remember just so your days could be bright." Her lips trembled. "I wasn't trying to hurt you," she whispered. "I know," I replied, "but hiding the truth doesn't protect someone. It isolates them." The room fell silent, but this silence was different. It wasn't heavy with secrets anymore. It was filled with understanding. After a while, she looked up at me again. "What did the doctor say?" she asked quietly. I smiled faintly. He said, "I'm not going anywhere, at least not as soon as you thought." Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes," I said. "There is time, treatment, possibilities." For a moment, she just stared at me, and then she broke down completely, not in fear this time, but in relief. She moved closer and held onto me tightly, like she used to when she was a child afraid of thunderstorms. "I was so scared," she sobbed. "Every day I was counting, thinking I was losing you." I wrapped my arms around her. "And in counting days," I said softly, "you forgot to live them." That night, we sat together for a long time. No television, no distractions, just conversation, real conversation. She told me everything, how she had found out, how the doctor had explained the condition to her first, how she had cried alone in the hospital corridor, how she had practiced smiling before coming home to me. Every word she spoke, I listened, not as someone who had been betrayed, but as a mother hearing her child's pain. And then I spoke. I told her about the fear I felt when I saw the file, about the nights I couldn't sleep, about the moment I realized that my own daughter didn't trust me with my own truth. She cried again, but this time she didn't look away. She listened. Something changed between us that night. Something quiet, something deep. We were no longer just mother and daughter. We were two people choosing honesty over fear. The days that followed felt different. Not lighter exactly, but clearer. We went to the hospital together this time. She held my hand, but not tightly. Not like she was afraid I would disappear, but like she was walking beside me. Treatment began. There were difficult days. Days when my body felt weaker than my spirit. Days when even getting out of bed felt like a victory. But there were also beautiful days, unexpected ones. One morning, I woke up to the smell of something burning. I rushed, or at least moved as fast as I could, to the kitchen. Aisha stood there, staring at a pan in horror. "I was trying to make your upma," she said sheepishly. I couldn't help but laugh. "Trying?" I teased. "Or destroying?" She laughed too, and in that moment, everything felt normal. We started spending more time together, not out of obligation, but out of choice. We talked about things we had never talked about before. Her childhood, my youth, regrets, dreams, even death. "Yes," I said one evening as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, "I am afraid of it." She looked at me, surprised. "You are." "I'm human," I replied with a small smile. "Fear doesn't disappear with age. It just becomes quieter." She nodded slowly. "I'm still scared," she admitted. "Good," I said gently. She frowned. "Good." "Yes," I said, "because it means you care. Just don't let that fear stop you from living." Weeks passed, and then months. The illness was still there, a part of my life now, but it was no longer a shadow hiding in silence. It was something we faced together. One afternoon, as I sat in my room, I found that old photograph again. Aisha at 5 years old, smiling without fear. I held it in my hands and realized something. Life doesn't promise us time. It only gives us moments. And what we do with those moments is what matters. That evening, I called Aisha. She came and sat beside me. "What is it, Ma?" she asked. I handed her the photograph. She smiled through soft eyes. "I remember this day," she said. "I fell and you told me everything would be okay." I nodded. "And you believed me?" I said. "I still do," she whispered. I took her hand. "Then believe me now," I said gently. "No matter what happens, we will be okay." Tears rolled down her cheeks again, but she smiled. And this time, it wasn't rehearsed. If there's one thing this illness has taught me, it is this: love does not protect us from pain, but it gives that pain meaning. And truth, no matter how heavy, is always kinder than silence. I don't know how much time I have, but I know this: I am not counting days anymore. I am living them. And for the first time in a long time, so is my daughter.